You made it. You made it through two weak ass stimulus package and COVID-19 and all the other things that occurred in 2020. All the police brutality and police murders. What if one of your members were dying? Okay, would you go in debt? Would you take out the equity of your home, of your business? Would you cash out your 401k? Would you cash out your IRA? What would you do to help that family member to survive? What if that family member, and I'm getting this question from a scene I seen in the new series of Shameless, and one of the people in their family member was dying, and one side of the family was selling, prized possessions, putting up, their house for sale, just so this person can get a surgery. Now the surgery was $65,000, but I want you to apply this to your life. Would you go into debt to save one of your family members? Now, I know that some of you automatically going to say, well, who the family member is. Who is the family member? Is it my mom, my dad? Is it my brother, my sister? Is it my, niece or nephew? For instance, let's do something far-fetched. Let's say it's your third cousin on your uncle, sister side or something crazy like that. Would you go into debt? Would you put up your house? Would you sell some of your assets? Would you sell some of your stocks? Would you take money out of your retirement in order for that person to have a surgery, in order for them to live? How far are you willing to go in debt to save somebody else's life? Now, I know this is not popular, but lately I've been doing very unpopular videos because I want people to start thinking about their finances in a very critical way, in a very life or death situation. Now, some of you are going to say, well, if you're married, and let's take, for instance, it's your husband's, okay, is your husband's or wife third cousin. How much are you willing to give up of your own wealth, of the money you have obtained, of your emergency savings, in order to save that person's life? And this is your husband's or wife third cousins. They're not closely related to you. It's not your third cousin, okay? And I know some of you are like, what about me? I never really gave this question any thought, but there is a significant amount of money that I would, depending on the family member. And I know some people may say, oh, if it's in my family members, I would do the exact same thing. I'm gonna be real with you. There's some family members I'm not in close contact with that I don't feel as connected. Okay, those who I'm connected with, I'll say those names. I'll say those that I talk to sparingly throughout the years, but I know who got my back essentially. My son, of course. Okay, my immediate family that I live with right now, of course. My Aunt Renee, my cousin Boobs, people who I absolutely see all the time and that I love, that I have a close connection. This is not popular. This is not popular because a lot of people never think about things like this. Because there's a lot of people during COVID-19 that, thank God, some of the states and the federal government was taking care of their medical bills. But what if this wasn't a pandemic that we were living in right now, and that a family member on either side was going through a situation where they needed surgery, or they needed treatment, or they needed chemo, or they had cancer, or they needed a surgery because they had some sort of heart failure or stroke? How much of the money you have obtained, saved, invested, that you're willing to give up in order for that person to have a surgery? Are you willing to be homeless for that person? Are you willing to do a reverse mortgage? Are you willing to do a cash out refi? What is the extreme most thing financially that you're willing to do to save a life of one of your family members that's probably on the other side of your family from your husband or from your wife? It is their third cousin. It's their third niece or nephew. What would you do? Can I have anybody comment on that? Would you give up that amount? Would you give up 50, 60 grand of the amount of money that you obtain to maybe start a business, for a down payment for a house? How much are you willing to go in debt for somebody's life that you're not closely related to, but it's still part of your family? I see Broad John said nope. He just didn't say no, ladies and gentlemen. He said nope. And the reason for this is because situations and conversations like this guess what? They do arise. Situations like this and conversations like this do arise. But we never think about what we're going to do. But I think it's almost important that when we think about our finances, that anything financially, we need to go ahead and think of right now so we can have a predetermined decision about what we're going to do. Now, granted, certain situations calls for different decisions. But the issue is this: how much are you willing to sell off? How much are you willing to give to save somebody else's life when they're not part of your immediate family? This is very unpopular because people are like, oh man, he's talking about death, he's talking about money, I don't get it. But here's the thing: this is going to slap you in your ass because you may be in this situation. Have I ever been in this situation? No. Thank God I've never been in this situation. But one or two, or maybe a few of you may be involved in a situation where you have to decide selling your car or letting someone die. Because there's a lot of families, ladies and gentlemen, that are absolutely doing horrible. And maybe you're the only one that's a breadwinner. You're the only one with a vehicle. You're the only one with the house. You're the only one that can actually sell off some of your possessions in order to get money, in order to pay for this surgery or this treatment. Because we understand that, ladies, if you go through chemo, dialysis, none of those treatments and procedures are cheap. So how much are you willing to give up of your livelihood? Because when we start talking about cash out refi from your home, that kills the equity, missing a mortgage payment, selling off your car, selling your stocks, going into your retirement account, your 401k, your IRA. How much are you willing for a family member who's probably a third cousin on the other side of your family, from your husband or from your wife or from your girlfriend or your boyfriend, to do so? Here's this. What if you've been dating somebody? This is a good one. What if you've been dating somebody for 5 years, right? You guys have been getting closer and closer to marriage. And I know 5 years is a long time to date before people get married, but let's just say the relationship is going well. You both love each other, but your significant other comes to you and they say, hey, listen, I have a third cousin on their deathbed. They need this life-saving surgery. But the family can't muster enough money up to save their life. So they come to you because they're looking at the finances you have, okay? How can you help? I was like, well, babe, or hey, babe, both sides, we've been saving up for our house because we've been in this 2-bedroom apartment for 4 years, ever since we started dating 5 years ago. So we're just going to give money to your third cousin for their life. These are very crucial and critical conversations that may arise in your marriage or in your relationship about the amount of money that you have obtained, saved, and earned in order to save somebody's life. That's somebody's third cousin. Now, when people think third cousin, like, third cousin, but this is still a person, this is still a life, and you do not know the relationship of your significant other to that person. Are you willing to give up all that cash? Are you willing to bypass a month of rent and possibly get put out? Are you willing to bypass a monthly mortgage? Are you willing to go inside of your retirement that is for the inheritance of your kids to save somebody's life? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? Because my question for me is, it's situational. There are some people that's going to say absolutely no. Absolutely not. I will not do that. I'm not going to jeopardize my immediate family for a third cousin. I got it. Then you're going to have some people say, well, it's situational. It's how prominent or pertinent that person is in my other significant's life. I got it. But then there's going to be people that say yes, regardless of the circumstance. They're like, no, money is not more important than a human life. So I don't care if it's your fifth cousin, we're going to give what we can give, no matter where it puts us, which is, very risky. Now, I could be in a position where, like, hey, listen, I got $5,000. But then your significant other may say, because this is what we'll do. We'll look at our bank account. We'll look at our credit cards, right? We'll look at our assets. We're like, hey, listen, hey, I got $5,000. And your significant other may look at you, male or female, You only got $5,000? Like, babe, you got 50 grand in the bank. I got $5,000. Do you know that a situation like this could kill your 5-year relationship, your marriage? Boyfriend and girlfriend, don't matter if you are on the verge to marriage. It can absolutely kill that relationship, because now that person is saying to you, money is more important than a human life. And then you're thinking, no, our life is more important than that human life. And they're like, well, we're still in great health. We can build that money back up. This is an argument. This is a situation that some of you may come or already have been to make this decision. So here's my question again. Which one of you will put your financial life in jeopardy in order to save somebody, your significant other's third cousin? And the reason I'm saying third cousin, because first cousins, they're like brothers and sisters to us. Second cousins, they're a little closer. Third cousins, you probably never met them. You probably never met them. So that's why the question remains. Would you do that? Would you do that? Anybody in the chat room, please tell me, what would you do to save somebody else's life that's on the opposite side of yours, of a significant other? Would you go into your retirement account and pull out 10 grand? Would you cash in your IRA to pull out 10 grand? Would you cash out refi of your home to pull out 10 grand? Would you sell some of your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, in order to get some money, save somebody's life that you don't even know, or possibly, not even related to, because it's on the other person's side? What would you do? And matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, give this video a thumbs up. The algorithm actually helps people to draw them into the chat to get other different perspectives. Support the channel, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. But I like to ask these very difficult questions, because I believe that we don't ask difficult questions in our community. And so when these situations arise, instead of having a conversation that you already predetermined what you essentially was going to do, we have more what? We have more arguments. We don't have discussions, we have arguments. Okay? Because we essentially are on a trajectory and a plan of what we want to do when we start building wealth, when we start saving money, right? We know what we're going to do. But then there's those emergencies that may not be your emergency, but you are adjoined to, that you are connected to, that may cause for some of your financial resources. And the question is, how much are you willing to give up, if any? That is the question. And these are very difficult conversations that I know most of us don't even think of, most of us don't even have. But it's important. But it's important. Because listen, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and anything could occur. Now, people are already talking about that the second strain that's from the UK is already over here. Okay, so again, what that's going to happen? This vaccine that they put out, Moderna and Pfizer, is going to be null and void, because if it's a different strain, they have to create another vaccine. Now, there's millions of Americans already saying, I'm not taking the vaccine. So now you're about to make another vaccine. They're like, okay, what vaccine should we take? So in thinking about this question, I also want you to think about that as well. Because that is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, where the state governments and the federal government may stop supporting people going to the hospital because of COVID-19. And you may be on the chopping block of your financial resources, of what you're willing to do for a family member on the opposite side that's coming from your significant other. This a thought, this a question. Please leave your comments in the section below. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and make the hard decisions. And I can't really say if it's going to benefit you or the person you with, but nonetheless, it's a conversation that you need to have. You guys have a great day and Happy New Year.